Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC, presented by Wayne Shaw, founder of 5 Nines Consulting. My name is Annie Castle. I am the Events and Registration Coordinator at IVI, and I will be moderating today's session. You will have the opportunity to submit questions or comments to Wayne or myself by typing them into the questions box of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. The PDF of the presentation is available to download now under the Handouts tab of your control panel. A recording of the session will also be included in a follow-up email tomorrow. With this, I would now like to introduce today's speaker, Wayne.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Before we get into the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, only the government could come up with that, I'd like to kind of paint a vision of why we got here and the things that have led up to why DoD has gone with the CMMC. Everybody has seen this. We know that cybercrime is horrible. We now have a $600 billion a year going on, and there's no signs of it slowing down. There are two types of cyber criminals in the world today. The first one is mafioso type, and the second one is the nation state. The gentleman standing there kind of trying to look at you is a misnomer. There are very few lone wolf hackers out there in the world today. They're either mafioso or nation. Mafioso is exactly what it says. They're after your money. They're the ones that normally do ransomware, those sort of steal your ID and sell it on the dark web. And nation states is exactly what it says. Every nation state out there in the first and second world has their own cybersecurity or cyber criminal division, and they're out there trying to steal all the information that they can get a hold of. So the, sorry about that. The ransomware or the cyber criminal, the mafioso type, this is how they make most of their money. It is a ransom demand letter. This is the one that we worked on. We've done several. This is probably one of the biggest ones we have done. This is the actual ransom demand letter. They are asking for 28 Bitcoin. My apologies that it is a little fuzzy here, but basically what it is telling you is at the first it's telling you that all of your files have been locked up and that it's basically your fault. Of course, it's always your fault. And they want 28 Bitcoin. They give you an address that you can get to on the dark web. They teach you how to get to the dark web, and there is a Bitcoin wallet address in it. It's hard to see. I apologize for that, but this is an actual ransom demand letter that my company has worked on a few years ago. The sophistication that these people are at, I can show you here. This is actually during that hack when we were negotiating with the we call them file hackers on the dark web. We this young man has been sitting there for 36 hours. You have 7 days or to get them the ransom demand. And I'm going to go through what all the screens are to show you the level of sophistication that we had to go through to pay these off. The laptop that is sitting in front of him has 2 programs on it. One's called Tails, one's called Tor. Tails mask that identification, mask that PC, so if the hackers do tunnel back to him, they don't know what PC he's coming from. Tor is how you get to the dark web, and it can mask where he's coming from. So he can 1 minute come up and look like he's in Paris, and by clicking a button, he can look like he's coming up in Greece next. The one that's sitting on top, the monitor that's sitting on top of the PC onto his right, that is the one where he's actually talking to the hackers on the dark web on a blog site that they set up during the attack. The one that is in front of him in the back is the Bitcoin wallet that we have, and he's transferring the Bitcoins to the hackers from that one. The one on the left, the little one, is hooked up to the victim or the company. In this case, it was a hospital. That as soon as he gets the code, he can give it to them, and they can start recovering all of their files. This young man is 20 years old at the time of this picture. The monitor on his left in the back is a gaming that he's playing because, like I said, he has sat there for 36 hours. That's the level of sophistication that the mafioso goes through to hide themselves and to steal as much money as they can. And ransomware is still on the way up. The nation state, the top airplane is from China. The bottom airplane is from the United States. DoD says that most of the information to build the airplane on the top came from being stolen from the United States. They are now flying that plane against us. I'm not picking on Japan. Every nation state does this. This is just an example that DoD will use. So what is the CMMC project? What got us here? CMMC is led by Katie Arrington. She's the Chief Information Security Officer for the Assistant Secretary for Defense Acquisition. That's quite a title. So she is responsible for all of this. Here's one of her famous quotes. She said, with 70 to 80% of our data living on contractors' network, I don't have any choice but to worry about what they're doing with it. We must protect the data. So in 2019, there was a study done on where they were with NIST 800-171. This will all come together. NIST stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology. Special Publication 800-171 was implemented in 2017, and all of the DIBs, the defense industry base companies, were supposed to be 100% NIST compliant, or getting to a point where they were NIST compliant, which is, how are we going to protect the data? What is the security protocols that we're going to use to protect this data? In 2019, they did a study and they found out that 0 companies were compliant. 0, not 1%, not 0%, but no company was compliant in 2019. They found out that on average, implementation of only 39% of the controls, 61% of the controls were not implemented or only partially implemented, and the largest companies were successful in implementing only 60% of the controls, while the mid-size and small successfully implemented 34%, which makes more sense because large companies have more money to spend on this. 80% of the companies assessed failed to implement 16 specific controls. Those controls that they failed to implement were policies and procedures and training on this. So what are they trying to protect? The CMMC wants to protect the FCI and the CUI, the federal contract information. That is any information that is given up after the contract is signed and sometimes during negotiations during the RFP process, and the certified unclassified information. Those two are important on the CMMC. So Katie Arrington took 800-171, turned it into the certification, the CMMC, and is now requiring everybody, instead of being self-evaluated like the 800-171 was, now there's a certification. They are going to be audited just like you do your bank account or your books. So how will the CMMC differ from the 800-171? Unlike the 171, in addition to assessing the maturity of the company implementation of cybersecurity controls, the CMMC will also assess the company's maturity, institutionalization of cybersecurity practices and processes. The institutionalization is key to the CMMC. My organization does not handle CUI. Do I have to be certified? Yes, all companies conducting business with the DoD must be certified. The level of certification required depending on the amount of CUI the company handles and processes. The only exception to this is off-the-shelf item. If it is what they call a certified off-the-shelf item, you don't have to have a CMMC certification to sell that off-the-shelf item, and there is a list of them. I'm a subcontractor to DoD. Do I still need to get certified? Yes, you do. So it not only goes from the prime, but goes all the way down to any company that is handling the CUI or FCI. How will I know what level is required? In the RFP, it will be under section L and M, and it will tell you what level of certification that you have to have. Okay, so let's look at it from the different views on what they're asking for. 40,000-foot view, we have to protect the CUI and the FCI. 20,000-foot view, we have to identify the CUI and the FCI. We have to build a fence around it. We have to put it in files and folders so we know where it's at. We have to encrypt the CUI and the FCI at rest and in motion. So when we put the fence around it, then we encrypt it. When we move it out of it, then it has to be encrypted. 4, only allow authorized personnel to access the CUI and FCI. 5, allow only authorized devices to accept the CUI and the FCI. Yes, we're still going, sorry. Demonstrate management commitment to protecting the CUI and the FCI. That is the institutionalization. Develop training, policies, and procedures. Those were the ones that was missed in the 800-171 by most people. Implementation of the entire company that demonstrates the company's commitment to protecting the CUI and the FCI. In the weeds, these are, they call them domains. I call them chapters, because in my world, a domain is not that. These are chapters. These are the 18 domains that have to be met at different levels, depending on what your certification is. If the hospital had number 12, which is recovery, which is backup and recovery, we would not have to have paid the ransomware. If the DIBs had number 1 and number 6, they probably wouldn't have lost a lot of information to build that jet. So here is, whoops, sorry about that. Here's just a better look at it. There are 5 levels in this CMMC, level 1 being the least, 5 being the strongest. You have, if you're at level 3, you have to meet all the requirements for 1, 2, and 3. It builds on itself. What are the difference? 1 and 2 provide basic cybersecurity standards, include antivirus, ad hoc response, awareness training, risk management, security. Level 3, if you're handling any of the CUI and FCI, and it includes all of the NIST SP 800-171 revision 1 requirements. 4 and 5 are targeted at a very small subset of defense industry. This is mainly the Boeings and Northrop Grummans of the world. So let me give you the highlights. A single standard across all DoD contracts starting in 2021. Considered a go, no-go requirement. If you do not have a level 3 and it's asking for a level 3, your RFP is immediately rejected. If they're asking for a level 4 and you're only level 2, it's immediately rejected. It's all based on the NIST 800-171 controls. That's what I talked about earlier. It identifies the 5 levels of data security so that contractors can implement reasonable security for the data they manage. Encourages government contract officers to pick an appropriate tier. Not everything is required in level 5. Most of them, according to what I have heard, will probably come out of the level 3. Provide automated tools that automatically gather data to specifically reporting efforts. Require CMMC to contain in section L and M. That's where it will be in the RFP in section L and M. Authorize non-for-profit organizations to oversee the program and accreditation private sector auditors. The non-for-profit organization that it's referring to here has already been stood up. It is already training the auditors. The COVID virus did not stop them or slow them down. They just went from being in a room to being in their home, and they're still being trained right now, and they should be done by end of July, 1st of August. Make cybersecurity an allowable cost in DoD contracts. They do understand that this is going to cost some money. DoD contractors will need to be certified at a specific security level before they qualify to bid on the contracts. Contractors that are not compliant with the required level will not be able to retain DoD contracts. This isn't that they're going to go back, from my understanding, go back and say, you have a contract right now, so you have to be certified to continue with the contract. If that contract goes on for 3 years, they can't come back and say you have to be certified on it. They can't go backwards. But if that contract is to be renewed at the end of 3 years and you're not certified at the right level, then you can't retain that contract. That's what they're trying to say there. That's it in a nutshell. This is from us. We're a cybersecurity company, and we really want everybody's help to build a culture of security awareness. I went through that pretty quick because usually I get a lot of questions. I want to thank you for it. I want to thank Janelle, Jennifer, and Jeff for having me on, for going through this. My name's Wayne Shaw, and do we have any questions?
All right, thanks, Wayne. As we wait for those questions to come in, here are a few that we can go over. What are the auditors going to look at when they do the audit?
They will start by coming in and looking at the policies and procedures that are asked for. As you read through the CMMC, it's 387 pages, by the way. It asks specifically for the policies. They'll read the policies and make sure that those policies are relevant to the CMMC portion, and that you are implementing them, and that people are adhering to those policies.
Okay, we have a new one came in. How can you help me pass my audit?
As a consultant, what we can do is come in and do an evaluation of everything where you are at. There is a whole process through the CMMC. If we take the 800-171, there's questions that it asks. When you answer the questions like, have you corralled the CUI and FCI into certain folders, and only those people have those folders, then we can advise you on helping you get those all of those controls and all those policies in line before we go for an audit.
Next question is, you touched on training. What training are they looking for?
They are looking for employee training and yearly training for the employees. When employees come on, new employee training that covers the CUI and the FCI. And they're also looking for insider threat training and training on the policies and procedures that people understand that we're not going to give out passwords. So we're going to change passwords. We're going to do all of those things that is required of them for the CUI and the FCI.
Great, we have a question from one of our viewers. When will the auditing process be ready to begin?
They are projecting it to be ready in September of this year. Like I said, they are pushing for that date. Katie Arrington has not slowed down anything on getting the auditors up and going, nor the non-for-profit. So that's what they're pushing for in September.
Can you explain a little more about institutionalization?
They named it the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification because most companies were throw it off to the IT department, let them make the changes in the computer system, and that's not what the CMMC is really trying to push. What it's trying to push is this is the whole company understanding that we are holding certified unclassified information. There's a certain way that we have to handle it, and the entire company understands that we're going to protect that data. The institutionalization of the policies, the procedures, the training, that this is important that we protect this data.
Thank you. Our next is, when will CMMC requirements start showing in solicitations or contracts?
They will start putting them in the RFQs in June and July. This month and next is the projection. So everybody gets used to it and sees it, and then the scheduled date for them to actually be in the RFPs is September, October of this year.
And perhaps a follow-up to that is, if you are not certified, can you bid on an RFP and then get certified?
No, it's a go, no go.
Not Zoom, but it's still a meeting. They're using a different, what's it called?
So the answer to your question is no. You have to have the certification when you answer the RFP.
When I got done with her, I got on this one. I had a match to match. This is a military division thing. So.
Okay. If anyone has any final questions, please get them in now. One more, Wayne, if I have a contract now, do I need to get certified?
If you want to bid on any more contracts with the government, then yes.
Yeah,
if you're just going to run that program out and you're not going to bid anymore on the projects, then no, you don't. But after September, October of this year, any of the DoD contracts coming out, we have been told will have a level of certification on the DoD contracts.
Okay.
And we just had a few more questions come in. Wayne, from one of our listeners, are there any companies who are currently cleared to do CMMC audits?
Not yet. They're training them all right now as we speak. There's a bunch of people a bunch of companies who have applied for it and are being trained on it. But as we said on June the 16th, nobody is qualified to be an auditor yet.
Excellent. Thank you everyone for your questions. And thank you so much to Wayne. Any questions that you have that you think of later, feel free to send directly to Wayne. His contact information is provided, as you can see. And on behalf of IFAI, if you are not a part of the military division and would like to learn more about programming, please feel free to contact Division Supervisor Janelle Berkeley. They work year-round to provide education, connections, and other resources to help your businesses succeed. Finally, a very brief survey will appear when you exit the webinar. We hope you will all take a few minutes to complete it. Thank you for all attending today's webinar session. Thank you again, Wayne. Have a wonderful day. And again, if you have any further questions, please reach out to IFAI or Wayne. Thank you.
Thank you.